Welcome back, Immigrant Nation. Another week, another new episode. You already know who it is. It's your boy, Aaron Deliosa, and this is An Immigrant's Life. If you want to keep in touch with us, you can follow us on our social media account. Our handle is at animmigrantslife@yahoo.com. You can also message us there, or you can also message us at our email address, and that is animmigrantslife@yahoo.com. If you or someone you know wants to come on the podcast and tell their story, or maybe you just want to chit chat, I'm ready, I'm willing, let's get talking. So New Year have started. I hope you're sticking with your goal. I know it's hard, but let's keep the momentum going. I'm doing great with my goals. I want to do a checkup on them. I guess at the end of the month I will do it. But so far so good. I'm sticking with them, and I hope you are as well. Anyways, that's enough for the personal update. We can talk about it more later on, but right now, let's talk about this week's episode. In this week's episode, our special guests take us through the challenges of growing up with illegal immigrant parents, navigating the path to legal immigration. Tune in as he candidly shares the hurdles of online dating as an Asian man, steering clear of stereotypes, and reflects on how BET Comic View shaped his stand-up journey. Brace yourself for insights into the impact of social media on comedy and a sneak peek into our guest's next evolution in stand-up. Get ready for a blend of laughter, introspection, and compelling storytelling. I love this episode, and I'm sure you will also. So, let's get to the point. Without further ado, let's get into the show. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Today's guest is a stand-up comedian that used to tell jokes in front of middle school kids, but now headlines comedy festivals. Everyone, please welcome Wilfred Padua.
Hey, thank you.
Hey man, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I didn't even know you're gonna say yes. I was like, I'm gonna shoot my shot.
I mean, look, I'm not that important. So
I was thinking that, hey, before he makes Rogan, I want him to come on my podcast first.
oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, Rogan's actually my 7:30 appointment.
That would be amazing. Imagine you're in New York right now, right?
Yeah.
So you have to fly, like, I don't know what kind of plane you're gonna use, but you gotta fly, dude.
Yeah, he does private jet people in.
He does, but
Yeah.
private jet it's 6:33 right now. You're not making it.
Yeah, if I made yeah, that's true. I heard that there's a new one that is supposed to get from like New York to London in 2 hours. Or maybe in an hour and a half. It's faster than the Concorde was.
I was gonna say Concorde, like exploded, right?
Yeah. It's faster than the Concorde, and it also you're not supposed to feel the sonic boom.
How?
I don't know.
I haven't heard this one, but
I don't know anything about science. To be honest,
yo, you and me, man. I'm like the dumb Asian with math.
Oh, you're not good at math?
Oh, I'm terrible with math, man.
I'm good at it. Like, I'm good at procedural things. Like, I know how to like go through the proper order to get through things. So I can handle my own in math.
Okay. Yeah, but no, I'm good at like I don't know, like formulas and stuff. But I'm not good in like, I don't know, geometry.
Oh, geometry. I fucking rock geometry.
You do?
Yeah, but once I got to trigonometry and calculus,
bro,
I was like, this is too much. It's too much math.
Trigonometry was the only subject I ever failed ever.
Really?
Yeah, bro. I'm like, when they talking about cosine and whatever else, I'm like, yo, I gotta go, man.
The whole reason, I mean, I after I took business calculus in college, I was like getting A's throughout college, and I didn't get a 3.5 because of business calculus. I got a C minus, could not figure it out. I went to the tutor every day, and I was like, what is happening?
Is it you cannot understand it, or it's just too much for you?
I think I don't have enough like foundational information to jump, because it is a language that I don't understand at all. And it feels like the people at the math center at my college were obviously good at math. They were smart at math and therefore got it without having to explain it to anyone. So like I always think the people that are the worst educators are the people that were good in school. If you're good in school, then you don't understand how hard it can be. If you're bad in school, then you understand where a person could be struggling with this.
Yeah, you know what? That makes sense because in basketball, most of the coaches are like bad players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like because they know how to be good, but they cannot apply it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? But before we get into more gossips and what else, if you want to promote anything, go ahead.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The main thing I want to promote is my YouTube channel, which has nothing on it right now. That is the current issue. So you're going to be subscribing for no reason currently. But it's just it's at Wilfred Padua on YouTube. I've got the Don't Tell taping that is out. Check that out. It's some of my best work. Unfortunately, some of my best work. and I the YouTube channel subscription is actually because I'm gonna have a podcast coming in January about Asian history.
Oh, sweet. Is it going to be solo or is it going to be with someone?
It's gonna be with my buddy Jeff, white guy, unfortunately. But he's a we podcasted before and tried other renditions of a podcast, and we had a history podcast going on for a little bit, and this one is it's going to be more specifically tailored towards Asian history, and it's going to be much more in detail about like certain stories from figures of the past.
So is it going to be like Asian American or is just like all over the world Asian?
All over the world Asian. So it's going to be like history. It could look at like, the CIA, but it's like, how did this affect Asia? Like one of the things that I know, and I want to do an episode on, is that on the day of Pearl Harbor, Japan bombed Manila and what's the other U.S. owned territory?
Hawaii?
No, in
Guam.
Guam.
Yeah.
So they bombed Manila and Guam at a higher rate than they did, because I think there's only like 3,000. No, maybe there weren't that many deaths in Pearl Harbor itself, but there were way more deaths in Manila. And the purpose was to get Manila as a naval base. And the whole reason they bombed Hawaii was because it was the closest place where the U.S. was set up. So they're like, well, let's just get this out of the way, and then we can take Manila.
Yeah,
so
that's right. On that, if you allow me, actually, Manila, it was the worst bombed city during World War II, next to Warsaw.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and no one talks about that because who cares about these brown people across the Pacific?
Dude, I also did like some research about like the Spanish-American War and like how, and then because I honestly didn't know who was in charge of the Philippines throughout all the time. Like I knew Spain was involved, and then I thought the Chinese had, like China had it, but they never did.
No,
it just went Spain to America.
Yeah.
Spain, America, Duterte.
No, Japan first. Japan and then Duterte.
Yeah.
No.
Japan. Didn't Japan lose?
Yeah, they lost to the States when they came back because of General MacArthur.
During World War II, right?
Yeah, MacArthur was like, "I'll be back. I'm gonna save those white dudes first because they're more important than you, brown people."
Yeah.
So and then they came back and like, "Hey, he's here."
Are you from the Philippines?
Yes, sir. I was born there, born, grew up. I was a man when I moved to Canada.
Oh, really?
Well, I like to think I'm a man.
How old are you?
I'm 41.
Okay, and how old were you when you moved?
20, 20, 20
20?
turning 21.
That's kind of a man. I mean, that's not you like. I mean, I'm 37, and I know that like I think a man is like really like 28.
You know what? Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, you know that they say like your brain will be only fully developed when you're 25.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why you're
Yeah.
like not actually supposed to smoke marijuana or whatever until 25.
And how old were you when you first smoked marijuana?
16. It didn't work the first three times,
Really?
and then the time that it did work, I like threw up
Mm.
and like had to sit still for like hours because I could not control myself.
Oh my dude, the first time I smoked was like I'm a extremist. Like it's either I'm gonna smoke or not smoke.
Hmm.
Right? I smoke a whole stick, right? This is in the Philippines, by the way, which I don't know what they lace that thing with, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not like here, you know how they smoke the buds. In the Philippines, they smoke the whole thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. My dad said that he used to smoke like the leaves, but the
Yes.
leaves aren't as potent as the buds.
Bro, listen, we smoke everything. We don't have money. We figure it out.
You smoke the hemp ropes.
No, because I didn't know this till like a friend of mine was growing it like a few years ago before they legalized it here.
Hmm.
And he was like, "Oh, this is." I said, "Yo, this is a lot." And like, no, there's not much. Like they take out the buds, right? Like, what? Like, bro, we smoke the
Oh,
whole thing, even the branches and everything. Sometimes it's
yeah.
popping out, you know. But yeah, I smoke I think twice or three times in the Philippines. I love the first time, and the rest I was like, I don't like this. And then
Yeah.
here, I smoke, and it was like, same with you. Like I was dizzy. I vomited. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm gonna stick with drinking.
Yeah. I turn red when I drink, and now I don't
Mm.
drink at all anymore
Mm.
because I'm on antidepressants. So,
Mm.
but I will smoke weed every once in a while. But it's mostly to just like end the night. It's not to be social at all.
Mm.
It's like I've had a day. Let's just take one hit. We'll go to bed.
Mm. Speaking of depressing, I know you're originally from Seattle.
Yeah, that's a great transition.
How did your family end up in Seattle? You know, knowing you're Filipinos, they moved there.
My uncle was in the Navy, the U.S.
Mm.
Navy, and then he got stationed in somewhere outside of Seattle. I'm Whidbey Island. Yeah,
What is
Whidbey Island.
that?
I don't know why I'm. It's not important, and I don't
Yeah.
know. I just needed to prove to myself that I knew the place. But it's they have a naval base there, so he got stationed there,
Mm.
and then my mom's parents came and everyone had gotten settled in Seattle. Then my parents came later in 82. They were leaving because it was,
Marcos.
prime Marcos time.
Hmm.
If only they had waited 2 years, then they would have been fine.
And then they will be poor more.
Well, my parents were actually doing well there.
Yeah, and then they'll be more poor because of the Corazon Aquino came in and just like messed up everything.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
that I don't know. I just know that people didn't like Marcos, but also a lot of people liked Marcos.
Yep, that's why
Like,
the son is the president now.
yeah, and then he came to New York, I want to say like last year, and people were like outside of in Jersey City is like a big Filipino area. They're like holding up signs like welcoming him, and I was like, I thought we didn't like him. I don't know. I've heard bad things, but I haven't heard all of it. So,
Well, propaganda and fake news that
oh,
work out.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's also easy to manipulate poor people.
100%.
Yeah.
They're like they always have this belief like, oh, if we vote these people, if this person, we will be rich. Like how? That I'm not good in math, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so my parents left because of Marcos, came to Seattle to try to find jobs. My dad couldn't find a job. My dad and my uncle uh went down the West Coast, like tried to find a job,
Oh, wow.
got all the way to Dallas, Texas.
That
Uh,
far?
yeah.
Oh my God.
And then and that's where they settled for a few years in Texas, and then that's where I was born, and then in 89 we moved to Seattle.
Okay. How old were you then?
3.
You were three.
About
I,
to turn 3. It was like right before I turned 3.
wow, man. That's great. In your YouTube video, I don't know, is it a special? Would you call it a special?
I think it's just a little taping. I don't know what they call it. Some people call it a special, but it's only 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was so disappointed. I'm like, why 15 minutes? I want more.
Well, thank you. But yeah, it's just 10 minutes, just little sampler, and then eventually I'm going to release something bigger.
I can't wait, man. Yeah, we'll talk more about that. But in that video that you have, whatever, let's say special.
Yeah.
You mentioned your parents were illegal immigrant. Is that true or?
It is true. They were. And it is actually a that joke existing is actually a like problematic thing in my family because one of my brothers doesn't think that I should be saying that because he thinks I'm being disrespectful, which like it's a joke. If you think I'm being disrespectful, you don't understand me and how I communicate with people. Um, but he also was like, because everyone was illegal except for me and my little sister.
Mm.
And so he thinks it's not my story to tell, which like it is. I would have lost my family if something happened, you know, and that, and I also like felt left out because everyone was like trying to solve the same problem. And I wasn't even allowed to in the room when they were talking about it.
Really?
Yeah, I was like sent to the. I remember being in my grandparents' house, and they're like, "Go downstairs and watch a movie." Cause and then upstairs, I knew that like my cousin was crying because he was worried about like everyone was scared about something, and I have no idea what they were scared about specifically.
How old were you then?
I gotta say, I was like 7 or 8.
Mm. And when did you find out that they're illegal?
Oh, early. I knew it. It was like a background thing in our family the whole time, but it didn't really seem to. It didn't hold any weight until I was like maybe in high school
Why?
because I just didn't know what it meant. I didn't understand that like that there's I could lose my family. Uh, um, I just like and I didn't know that like I had all these different I mean I was told that I had all these privileges that they didn't have. I just never really understood them. Um and I think also to be fair, my family didn't quite understand what they could do. Um so there's a lot of things like, my brother got a job before everything became digitized. And he got that job and he had to stay there within that company because he couldn't apply for a new job. He didn't have a social security number that was going to work.
Yeah, that's one issue with a lot of immigrants is they don't really because they don't trust people as much that they don't trust authorities that didn't go to lawyers or anything. They just
Hmm.
go to like, oh, did you know Wilfred knows that a cousin did this and did that to become a legal immigrant? I'm like, yeah, but did you talk to a lawyer? Because he's not a
Yeah.
lawyer.
And also my parents got stiffed. Like they gave some dude like $5,000. He did nothing with it. Just and so my parents didn't want to like go through that again.
Yeah.
And it took a long, long time. I mean, they applied for their citizenship in 1975. And it wasn't until like 2001, I think.
Holy garbage.
Yeah.
That long.
It was so long that my two oldest brothers were no longer considered their children. So they had to get naturalized later through their marriages.
Oh my God. So, but when you apply and you're in the States, don't like the government knows like you're staying illegally?
So they applied in the Philippines, and then
Okay.
they came here on they in the 80s. They got a visitor's visa,
Yes, how it is.
um, and that's where they came in on, and then they stayed.
TNT, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
When they were raising you, you mentioned there's a little bit of like friction between you and the family because you're legal, you're an American, and they're not American. Through the high school and further on, did it continue that friction?
It's I mean, there's friction in the family because it's a family. And also there's friction because they're immigrants. They have a different understanding of they grew up in a different world. My parents had a much more difficult upbringing in that um they don't I don't think that my parents were raised on the idea of developing a full person, like having this person develop his or her own personality to I don't know, become a functioning adult or whatever. They were raised on they're Catholic. This is what you're supposed to do. This is how you get in through those pearly gates. So just behave this way. So there was that friction. Um, but the friction between me being natural, like American citizen, and them not, it wasn't something that was as prevalent as just personality things.
That's why they send you to a Catholic boys' school.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's well, my whole family went to an all boys school.
How
Yeah.
was that experience? Because I went to a Catholic school, but it's
Uh-huh.
co-ed, not like only boys.
I loved it. Truly. I don't know if you know that in the Don't Tell special, I'm wearing the sweatshirt from my
Oh,
school.
nice.
I was like, this is my only because on TV you're not allowed to wear logos, but this was for YouTube, and I was like, this is the only time that I get to rep my high school on this platform. So I was like, let's do it. Let's wear this sweatshirt.
That's amazing. Still fits you.
Well, I bought a new one. I bought a new one. But yeah, I loved it. I think my sense of humor was developed there, the silliness that I try to approach life with was developed there. There's just a brotherhood and a family mentality that was there.
Most of your friends are people of color or mostly white dudes?
All white dudes. Yeah, but during school, the school was 30% black, 30% white, 30% other. And I just didn't initially fit in with the Filipinos. They formed a clique right away. And I was sitting at a different table at lunch. But then, those are guys that I'm still friends with and still follow on Instagram or whatever. Yeah.
Were you never close to Filipino community?
No, not really. My parents had Filipinos. They were in a prayer group, and it was all Filipinos. So I knew them, and but I didn't. I didn't remember initially, I think in middle school, even I remember thinking I need to stop acting like a stereotype, or I don't want to act like a stereotype. Um, like you'd go to the mall and Asians were just hanging out with other Asians at the mall, and I was like, oh, I need to stop hanging out with Asians. It was a very I made that decision and in middle school, which is far too young to think about that type of thing.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Why were you thinking that way? Like, because you were ashamed of being Asian?
I think so. I think there I mean even to this day there's still a small portion of it that lingers.
Mm.
But I think it was also that I thought that if was around people and they saw that I wasn't being a stereotype, I it could let white people see that not all Asians are the same or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I have that too, but like, I've spoken to so many people, and they're saying that sometimes they just want to act like them, and they don't want the pressure of being like the representation of their race or whatever they're from, right? I
Sure.
don't care. I don't mind it. I like, you know what? I'm taking that pressure. I want to be the best representation of Filipinos.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, I don't, and also I'm like, not, I am and am not a representation of Filipinos. Like, like I have whatever, I don't speak Tagalog or any of the languages. I'm like just learning, that even the Japanese were in charge for a little bit. Like I'm learning history right now, and I want to be more connected to it. But there is a limited amount that I can represent the Philippines because I don't know as much. So for the most part, I'm just some guy who happens to be Filipino.
Yeah, which is it comes with it automatic that you're a
Yeah.
representation. Like if you make it with something, you'll make it. I'm like that guy is Filipino. He's our people. That's it,
Yeah.
right? I noticed that you don't make Filipino accent jokes or stereotypical Filipino stuff. Was that a conscious decision or?
I don't think it's a conscious decision. It's just like I don't find it that funny. I've seen, I do will say like I don't know if you know Rex Navarrete.
Yes.
Of course, like he's one of the first comedians that I listened to. Like he is like isn't my favorite now, but he has an impact on me, and like of course I like respect the guy and respect the path that he like the fact that I'm doing this he has an impact on that. But it's just not what I think is funny. Like I think I've also always thought that my audience is white because I think that stand-up comedy is about talking to people that aren't like you and figuring out how to bridge humanity just through empathy and through like shared emotion.
You mentioned that Rex Navarrete was one of your influence. How you got into stand up?
So I was pretty much raised on cable TV. My parents were always either working or
Working.
too tired to raise kids.
Working or working or working.
Yeah. So, and also my parents have at the time had a little bit more tougher understanding of the language of English. So so I couldn't watch MTV because it was too sexy at the time. So if my parents walked in and I was watching MTV, that was a no-go. I would be in trouble. But if they walked in and I was watching BET's Comic View, all that they could see was it's a black guy talking. And they wouldn't stick around long enough to hear that he's like talking about sex or whatever. So it was the most salacious thing that I could watch, and I got into it. I started to think that like I really liked D.L. Hughley when I was a kid. Chris Rock became a quick like influence. I just was like those guys are cool. That's cool that they can command a room like that with just words and personality. So I was like, I want to figure that out.
I mentioned that you were a middle school teacher. Are you still teaching or no?
So I was a middle school like social worker. And I ran after school programs and everything there. I'm not I don't work in schools anymore. Yeah, just doing stand up and trying to make a better living out of all this.
Amazing. So stand up is your main gig. You don't have a extra job.
I do have an extra. I also work as a mover.
A mover.
Yes.
You're 37, dude. Not time for moving.
I love it.
What?
I love it.
Bro, I hate moving people.
But so I figured it out. I mean, you work. First of all, I love the guys that I work with. A lot of them are other comedians that are, that I respect and think are funny. But we just have a great time hanging out on the truck all day, and then it's a team effort moving. Like the harder I work, the more I'm looking out for my coworker. The harder he works, the more he's looking out for me. And so it's like there has to be this mentality where like we have to look out for each other and we have to work our ass off. So I love that aspect of it. It's tough, it is, but I think the hardest part is like packing
Oh,
and
you do packing
like
too?
yeah, but I usually don't. But I think that's harder than moving uh someone. Like I'd rather just carry the boxes and the furniture with my friend who knows how to do it.
Dude, I hate moving. And then you have to deal with someone like you have to go left or right. No, this is the right way. This is the wrong way. I'm like,
Oh, see, and but when you get good at it, because I've been doing this for years with these guys, there's no communication. There's no like I can feel which way he's shifting the couch, and I'm like, oh, I know what he's doing. And then so like we need to flip the couch in or out, or like we get it. We know how it works. So
yeah,
it's
you're
pretty
a
cool.
team. That's pretty awesome. But when you have friends that are moving, you guys move them to for free or you get paid anyway?
I offer to move them for free, but they usually give me like $100 or something.
What a legend, man. You're a nice guy, dude, because I will not, even my sister or my brother, I will not move them.
Oh yeah. I mean, also my friends are comedians, so they own nothing. We're all broke.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been doing stand up?
Um, about 12 years,
12
maybe
years.
13 now. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, started when I was 24.
24. When was that? What day was that? And what pushed you?
I don't know. So, okay. So before I did stand up, I did improv for like 5 years because I thought it was the same thing. And then I remember I would like open some of my improv shows with like these like bits or whatever the fuck they were. They weren't jokes, but they were it was like humorous talking. And it went well there because those are my friends that went to my improv show. And then I tried to take it to the main comedy club in Seattle, and I bombed so hard. Like couldn't have like done worse. And it was like so traumatic. I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna do stand up again. I'm okay with improv. And then the theater that I was doing improv at was started doing its own open mic. And I also had gotten into grad school in Chicago. And I was like, well, I'm moving to Chicago. I should figure out this other trick up my sleeve. I thought that's how easy stand up was. And then I started doing open mics at the theater. And then from then on, I was just like, fuck improv. I'm doing this
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, I don't like improv too.
I mean, the issue with improv is that like 90% of it is awful and 10% is great. It's like great and beautiful, but like it's so hard to get to that 10%. And also I didn't care enough to like, I had plateaued in improv. I'm like, usually when I pick up a new thing, I can like figure it out pretty well. And I get like, I'd give myself like a B minus in everything I pick up, like basketball, like improv, whatever. But it wasn't until I did stand up where I was like, I want to figure out how to level up to a higher grade.
Also, stand up is like you only need a mic and you. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't need like John or Mary to come all Friday or whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know that show, Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah. I used to love that show.
Bro, those dudes are masters.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Ryan Stiles, I think is his name. He's the tall, lanky one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He lived in Bellingham, which is like 2.5 hours north of Seattle. Had his own theater up there. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm a big stand-up comedy fan. Like, bro, I'm like nerd out, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, big fan. That's why I was checking on like, yo, I hope he comes on. And I've heard that like sometimes it takes time. Sometimes like usually like 10 years till a stand-up comedian finds his voice. Do you think you have found your voice?
Um, yes and no, because it's like not really like it. The thing is, the idea of finding your voice on like the way they make it sound on podcasts is like once you're 10 years in, it's all gonna click
Yeah,
like
no.
that. Like it I know what I find is funny, and I know how to follow that. I think, and also I think my style is like uh unique. Um so I just follow that. Like and it's still, writing a joke is still a lot of work.
Dude.
Um
Like that's why when you did that 15 minutes, which I love, all jokes like amazing writing, by the way, great
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
But I was like, man, I don't know how long it took him to write those jokes for 15 minutes, and then he posted on YouTube. I'm like, yo.
Well, it took, so I had all of those jokes individually, developed throughout years or whatever. But I spent the last, because I got booked for the Don't Tell, I want to say in spring. We taped in October, I think. And like I was kind of just like dicking around, not really like trying hard at shows. And then next thing you know, I'm like, oh shit, it's August. I have to get this shit together. So I spent every single set trying to refine that. And then I was rewriting every moment that like felt like there was a lull. Like there's probably like 5 new jokes in there just because I rewrote it within that month.
Wow, man. I love your style. Set up, punchline. I love that style, just joke writing. What made you decide to go to that route of style of comedy?
I like well, first of all, I wonder if I feel like I'm very conversational. The way that I write makes it sound like we're just talking. And that was like very big at some point, like in 2010. There's a lot of like conversational comedians. Patrice O'Neill was very conversational. There's this guy Rory Scovel who like is not even written. That's how conversational he is. It's just like he's riffing the whole time. And D.L. Hughley was one of my first influences. So I was like, I wanted to feel like this is natural and not like a Mitch Hedberg rhythm to it. The issue though, I think audiences are getting dumber. And it is social media's fault to an extent. Social media is opening up the doors. Like people are being introduced to stand up at a higher rate now, but that doesn't mean that they're comedy audiences or that they're fans of comedy. So when I say the audiences are getting dumber, that impacts me because I don't have a very like, here's the punchline formula to it. You got to really listen to me, and I think a lot of people don't know comedy enough or don't listen enough to understand what I'm really doing.
Yeah. Does that frustrate you when that happens?
Oh, absolutely. I wish that I mean, but it's also me being like there's also a bunch of laziness that goes into my career, and I'm actually spending all my time blaming the fact that audiences are dumb because of TikTok. Like I could figure out how to write jokes that are a little bit more digestible, but I also like kind of want to stand my ground and figure out how to just be funny the way that I am until like it comes back around.
Yeah. I love when you do the pausing. When you're about to deliver something, you pause and then bam.
Thank you. Yeah. I think I'm looking at the YouTube comments, which by the way, we all see the comments. Like, people are like, oh yeah, like, they think that they're just they could just be mean to someone because they're not going to see this. We see it. We just don't react because like I'm not going to engage with someone whose avatar is an egg, like but I think a lot of people think that I'm like serious. Like I will do shows in Brooklyn, and people think I'm serious when I'm saying like these things about like my parents, like how I want to deport them. Of course, I don't want to deport them. Of course, the irony is that I'm an American because they brought me here. Like, duh. That's the huge contradictory statement. Like
That's the funny part there. That is the key. That's the juice.
yeah.
That's why it's funny because of the contrast.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand how you don't get it, but I mean, I don't know. It's also, I think that there's it's a lot of liberals that don't, not to like make this like every other podcast about comedy, but liberals are trying to show that they're being empathetic when they could just sit and laugh.
Just laugh, dude. Just be like laugh. What's the problem? It's a comedy show.
Yeah.
It's not a strip club or I don't know, like a play. It's a comedy show.
Yeah.
Do you think those people walk in not expecting what they're gonna see or hear, or they just dumb?
I think they don't, I mean, they expect to see something like the person that brought them into comedy. Like for like it could be Mark Normand or Hannah Gatsby or Louis C.K. or whoever it is. They expect to see something like that, and that is their standard. And someone that is a little bit different or unique. Like there aren't a lot of Asians and there that do stand up like I do it. And so I think it's hard for them to comprehend what's happening just because I'm Asian. Like I think I do stand up pretty similarly to a bunch of white guys. But it is something that like they don't know what to make of it. They don't know if I'm being like if I'm just hating on Asians because I want to make them the punchline. And I'm like, the truth is I'm the punchline of every single joke. When I say something awful, it's because I'm being the awful person, not the Asians.
That's right. Like that's the thing. They just don't see the contrast of the idea that like, no, I'm making fun of myself, not the Asians.
I'm acting as a horrible person because I'm the punchline of this. I think, and that is also perhaps why I don't do the Asian accent. Because I think that makes Asians the punchline. I remember watching there's this like Margaret Cho album from years ago where she was talking about there's a bit about how she went to a Chinese restaurant and then there's this group of white people and the waitress came by and then she left and then they started doing her accent and she was like, that's so awful. And then but in the joke she's doing the accent too and getting laughs off of the accent. And I'm like, you're just doing what you were saying was awful. And so personally, like, I don't want to make whenever I talk about anyone, whether it's like, any community of people, it's my fucked up look at them, not that they are bad people.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's funny.
Yeah.
Like when Bill Burr talks about women and them being awful or whatever. No, it's his ignorance of women what it makes it funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that piece that one of the bit that you did, Asian men and less popular on dating sites. Was that based on real life?
That was definitely based on real life. Yeah. I mean, and that's stuff that I like, I've been talking about that for a long time on stage. Based on, definitely my own dating experiences. And it's like, there's conversations that I've had with like friends where we'll compare our, Bumble matches. And it's like my ugly, stupid looking white friend who just happens to be 6 feet tall, is like matching at like getting multiples of more than what I was getting. By the way, I'm 5'10", just to be like, I'm not even short.
That's good height.
Yeah.
Same. I'm 5'10" too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
But
strong Filipino, honestly.
strong, man. Yo,
Yeah.
we're giants.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was talking to one of the previous guests, and he's like, I'm pretty tall. I was like, okay, what's your height? 5'7". Like, no, you're not tall.
Yeah. I guess it depends on where they're at. When I'm around my family, I'm like a head taller than a lot of my family members.
No way.
Yeah, like I've got cousins that are like 5'3". Like I think, yeah, so I'm 5'10", and then the second highest is like maybe 5'7".
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be the tallest, but then my nephews start growing like trees. I'm like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they make fun of me, like, yo, Tito, you're short now. I'm taller than you. I'm like, well, you're supposed to be taller than me.
Yeah.
You're the next generation.
Yeah, and we fed you American food.
Exactly. I ate what did I eat? Well, sometimes I don't have food actually.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just like, I remember seeing pictures of like my cousins at like 4 years old with a bottle of a Coke, like Coca-Cola, and I'm like, at least I got nutrients as a child.
Bro, Coke is like the biggest thing in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah, like have you been?
I have not. No.
Okay.
I am hoping to soon.
Where's your family from in the Philippines?
Manila area. My dad's from Manila proper. My mom's from Olongapo.
Okay, Olongapo. Olongapo is beautiful. Well, it's very Americanized, but it's
Oh,
beautiful.
really?
Yeah, because that's where was the base was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you walk around there, you're gonna see like half white, half black kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Dennis Rodman's dad lives in the Philippines, in that area.
Oh, really? Wow. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah, he's a Apple the App from
Yeah,
Black
Apple the
Eyed
App.
Peas. That's where he's from.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Ah.
that's why when they came out, I was like, oh, of course, Taboo is the Filipino guy. He looks Filipino, and then I
Yeah.
found out Apple the App, the black guy, is the Filipino guy. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah, I think Taboo's like native, I think.
Yeah, I think it's native Mexican or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, I was so confused when they came out. But yeah, Olongapo is a beautiful city, but again, it's very Americanized.
Yeah, the thing is like I don't have, if I'm gonna go, especially for my first time, it's gonna be like 2 to 3 weeks. Because I have to, so to like get that amount of time is a lot. It's really hard for me to figure that out.
Of course, yeah. And
Yeah.
then obviously with your stand up, it's gonna affect your stand up, not going on stage.
Yeah, I bet there might be some places I can perform there. I don't know.
Oh, they have a different kind of stand up.
What's it like?
It's like you have to be gay and can sing.
Oh yeah.
You
Like
know,
every time I go home, my parents are just watching TFC the whole day, and yeah, it's like kind of like almost burlesque-ish, but it's just karaoke.
Yeah.
But you're gay.
Yeah, it's like that. I mean, I'm sure there are some areas. You know what? I have a friend that is a stand-up comedian from Toronto. He performed in the Philippines, so maybe I could ask him out. Or if you ever want to visit. But I'm pretty sure there's some areas. But again, they're very like like vaudeville style.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, that's how I watched a documentary of these guys going through Asia, so China and like I think Singapore or something. They're going through Asia and did a little tour, and they were like showing the local stand-up scene, and everyone looked like it was 1977 on stage, just because like the jokes were constructed like how you would begin, like how stand-up began. It's not like where stand-up's at.
No, like your style. bomb. For sure, you're gonna bomb. Like
Yeah.
you're 100% gonna bomb because
Yeah.
first of all, they're gonna expect you to sing.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Second, they're gonna expect you to be gay.
Yeah. And or to be expressive in any way.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't write their own materials.
Oh, really?
No, they even like I'm telling you, like the vaudeville time, like you can make a joke and I'll use that joke and no one will get mad.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we're still there. We are not at that level of like I'm gonna tell my story.
Yeah.
You know,
That's interesting because I mean the Philippines is so in love with America and stand-up is such a quintessential American art form
100%.
that like it feels like they would have figured out how to get into it. I mean,
Yeah.
I bet if once stand-up comedy becomes a thing there, it's probably going to explode.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about this the other day. Like the type of humor Filipinos are is we're focused on silliness.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you're not silly on stage, you're not funny for us.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
that's actually a thing that I'm like I'm much sillier in my like day-to-day life and the way that I like interact with friends or my girlfriend. And that's something that I'm actually trying to figure out how to bring out more on stage.
How hard is that?
It's hard to figure out with the style that I've like cultivated throughout these years. Actually in the taping that we did, they did a retake and because I flubbed a line on the joke. And so they're like, we want to retake it. And I went up there and like couldn't figure out how to get into the joke because like I have to get into the middle of this joke.
What?
And I was on stage in front of 150, 200 people. Just being like, how do I do? And then but I was just like, I already had a good rapport with them and I was just like being silly and until I figured it out. And I had a friend being like, that's the next level is like what you did, and how natural you were then. That's the next version of you.
Oh, I'm excited to see that. Do you think it's because based on fear that you're so comfortable that this is your style, you don't want to break that comfort and go to the next level?
I think so. I think there's that I'm comfortable with the style, but there's also an insecurity in terms of like standing out. Because if I do like there's a lot of people that do stand up and a lot of comedians go, wow, that guy fucking sucks. And there's a part of me that is afraid to stand out in a way that won't fit into the genre or fit in with my peers.
I see what you're saying. Fuck them anyway.
I know. I need to, and honestly, that's just something that I'm holding in my head. I know that if I take myself to the point where I'm natural in myself up there, even more so than I am now, then it's just gonna like, I know my peers are gonna like be fine. They're not gonna say that like, wow, Wilfred sucks because he's more comfortable or whatever.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, I guess the great example is Jim Carrey. When he started stand-up, he was actually a stand-up. He tells jokes and whatnot. And then he started like making these characters and, talking with his butt and whatnot. And apparently he bombed for years.
Could you imagine bombing like while like doing a soliloquy out of your ass?
But hey, listen, first of all, I wish I'd never feel bombing because I mean, yes, I have performed when I was younger. Being Filipino, you have to perform in front of your family, but not like what you do, man. How would you describe the feeling of bombing?
I mean, now it doesn't feel like anything as much. It's one thing. Bombing in front of your family, completely different experience.
Dude, you always bomb in front of your family. You never ever make it. You never kill in front of your family.
Yeah, no. That's also a different experience because you have to. Those people know you after that. When I bomb at a show, I don't exist to them anymore.
Mm.
I stop being like it's uncomfortable, and like usually I like, I'll address it, and
Oh, that's good style.
sometimes I get angry because I'm like,
Do you really? What do you say?
I think because it's mostly just addressing the fact that they are refusing to enjoy themselves. They came to this place, and there's a social contract. You come here to have a good time. I come here to try to provide that for you. I'm clearly trying to provide that for you, but you're not letting it happen. So there's a part of that like I understand that I've been doing this so long that I understand that I'm at least trying to do my end of it. And if I bomb, it's okay because they didn't remember my name. They don't know, like within an hour and a half, they won't remember what I look like. So I've become anonymous again.
Yeah, I see that. I don't know, dude. I remember, excuse me, when I was new here, a friend of mine was like having this like variety show, and he was the host, and I was like, "Yo, let me write stand up for you, like stand up bits and whatnot," which I did. He never did it, but he was forcing me to come on the stage. I'm like, "Yo, I don't think I have the balls."
Oh, I mean, when I started this whole like dream of being in comedy, I didn't have the balls either. I was like, oh, I knew that Paul Mooney wrote for Richard Pryor.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, you can write for a comedian? I'll do that. Which, like, that's not how things work anymore. You can write for some. There's maybe like 4 or 5 that have writers.
I think Chris Rock has.
So Chris Rock and like Chappelle, for example, the ideas and everything comes from them, but they have like a team of people that they trust to help guide, because they have to produce an hour special at such a fast rate that they'll have a team that'll like help get them to the joke faster.
Okay. What do you think about that? What's your opinion about that?
I mean, I do it with my friends too.
Okay.
We like meet up to write together. We when I'm on the phone with my friends, we're talking, and then something funny comes up, and then we go, "Oh, that might be a bit. You should try that out."
Oh, they're giving you a tag.
Yeah, or just like an idea of like that moment in that we just had in life is worth talking about on stage.
Do you have a joke that you've been trying for years and still not working, but you refuse to let go?
Like every joke I wrote during the pandemic is really offensive. And I still think they're funny, but I don't do them anymore. Like I have jokes about like the George Floyd time, and like how I have this one. So this definitely didn't work with anyone. It worked on Zoom for some reason. I think it was because people were more comfortable laughing on Zoom, because they're behind like a screen, where in person people still have to like,
There's energy.
yeah, they're like, if I laugh at that, then I'm a bad person, and people are seeing that I'm laughing or whatever. But it was this one, I'm trying to think how it goes. Like during the George Floyd time, there people were reaching out to their black friends and talking about race and whatnot. And then so I'm from Seattle, where there's a lot of white people and a lot of people that like would talk to me and be like, I wish I had a black friend that I could talk to in this time, because they're liberals. They want to learn and open their minds and whatnot. And I was like, look, if you want to get a black person to talk, all you got to do is put on a movie that you really want to see, and they'll talk right through that.
That is good, dude.
It's a good joke. It's a quality joke.
It is.
But it doesn't. It really. I mean, the way that it just like isn't something that people want to
At
laugh
that moment,
at.
I guess.
Yeah.
And then now, if you use it, it's kind of dated because of George Floyd.
Yeah, and I mean,
But-
you can. I can figure out how to like
Yeah. You can-
recontextualize it, but
There's always a black guy that's getting killed by police anyway.
yeah, absolutely, that's gonna happen.
It's so horrible, but it's true, you know? Like, Not here in Canada, not much of that. We don't have that. There are
Yeah,
racism. There is racism here,
sure.
but not
Yours is
nothing
like
like.
more native.
Yeah, like the rest of Canada, yes, the native in Quebec where I'm at is like, who was that has the joke? I think it's Robin Williams. He said that in Quebec you don't get judged by the color of your skin, but they wait for you to speak, then they judge you.
Oh, okay. So
Something like
like,
that, like because of the English and the French.
yeah.
So that's where the fiction's from, like
Who has the upper hand, the French or the?
the French.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the French. It's because the thing was like the English found Canada. Wait, no, the French found Canada, Quebec,
Uh-huh.
and then the English came, and then the English like screw this. I'm done with this. We cannot do anything else. They bounce, and then the French people start making babies,
Yeah.
and they became the majority, and then they took over.
Okay.
They just got lazy. The English is like they just got lazy. That's why French.
Yeah. And
But now, yeah.
France is their culture is very sure of themselves.
Oh yeah, dude. Like
Yeah.
they're like, this is who we are. We're not changing. You have to change for us.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Quebec is like we're trying to be friends, but
Uh-huh.
we're not.
Yeah.
Like I used to work at the airport, dude. And there's some Parisien that will come and speak French to like Quebecois. Dude, most of them are so rude to them. Like, what kind of French do you speak? This is not French. Where
Really?
did you learn? I'm like, yo.
It's nice to know that every country fucking sucks.
Oh, 100%. Like, I always say, I love Canada. I do. But it's not like, it's not perfect, you know? There's no country that
Sure,
is
sure.
perfect, you know?
There's countries that are definitely closer than America. Like, I mean, I think you guys are a step closer in that at least you're paying for your medical bills.
Yeah. That's
Um,
one thing. Like that. Like, people was like, oh, Canada sucks. This and that, or whatever. I'm like, healthcare.
yeah,
Oh, but you have to wait 13 hours. Well, in America, you still have to wait, and guess what? You have to pay.
yeah. I mean, I'm still waiting around. I actually sprained my groin, like, or like I think I'd like pulled a muscle in my groin
Doing
picking up
what?
furniture.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
and my girlfriend was like, "You got to see a doctor." I'm like, "I don't have insurance." Like, I mean, I do have insurance that I'm on the Medicare,
Mm,
um, but the clinic is a fucking dump.
really?
Yeah, I feel that is the one time where I feel really in poverty when I have to sit in the waiting room with everyone else in like from the hood
Mm.
that is also waiting there with me.
You're like, I don't belong here.
I know, yeah. It's like I got to get my life together. That's when that's the one time I'm like reminded, hey, we should probably start writing that script.
We should start pitching in, build a troop again. Maybe we can submit a tape for SNL.
Yeah. Or just quit living and like following your dreams and become an accountant.
Were you trying to be an accountant when?
No, I wanted to be a teacher for a little bit, and then figured I'd work in education and then eventually the stand-up thing took over.
Yeah, the disease, the
Yeah.
virus of stand up.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome, man. Who was the most famous and funniest comedian you followed?
Um, that I've followed.
Yeah. You're in New York. There's a lot of them there.
Oh yeah. I mean, recently, I followed Ralph Barbosa, and the whole crowd was there to see him. And it was so actually I didn't follow Ralph. It was one person and then me. But the person between us had just like a 5-minute set,
Okay.
and she could not get anything out of them.
Oh,
And then I went up and I was like, I get it. You came to see Ralph, and that's already done. But you're still at a show, and then and then eventually they loosened up and started to listen to me. Tim Dillon was a tough follow.
Holy crap! You followed him?
Yeah, I bombed after Tim Dillon. Uh, that was probably the biggest, toughest follow that I've had.
That energy and then your style.
Yeah. There's this guy. I have to shout him out, and like he's not even like a close friend, but he's just a guy that I really respect. His name's Mike Britt. He's maybe the best comedian alive. Like his in-person show is so like hilarious and brilliant. I was at New York Comedy Club. There's a showroom. In between the showroom, like there's like a little hallway with two doors, the bar, and then on the other side of the bar is the bathroom. I was in the bathroom taking a piss because I knew I was on next, and I hear just like this crazy applause, and I to the point where I thought like, oh, he just got off stage. I have to force the shit out and run into the room. And I go into the room, and it's just he had just told a great joke.
He's just killing.
He's just killing that hard.
Oh my god!
Like, and it's just the way that he does it. It's like so he has every single skill that a comedian could have.
I'm gonna check that out, Matt Britt. I love new comedians.
Yeah,
Mike or Matt?
Mike, Mike Britt. I think he has a special on YouTube.
I'll check it out. Yo, bro, I think we're there. Before we close out, do you have any last remark or anything else that you want to say?
I mean, I just want thanks for having me on. You know, appreciate the. It's also nice to. I haven't talked to a Filipino in like weeks.
You're in New York.
Yeah, but they're not. I'm in Brooklyn, so they're not around. But it's like it. It actually like was. I forget that like there's this natural because of culture, because of like things that I know. Like we just get it, and it's nice to get to talk to another Filipino.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, again, I wasn't expecting you saying yes. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna reach out anyway.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got me in a week where I said yes to so much shit, but this one was actually fun to do. So.
Oh, I appreciate that. Again, if you want to promote anything, let the audience know.
Yeah, just follow me on everything. It's Wilfred Padua on everything, one word. And definitely if the one thing that's most important to me is follow me on YouTube because the podcast is going to be coming out in January.
All right, for sure. I'm going to promote that too. Again, Wilfred, thank you so much for coming to the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Have a good evening.
All right, thanks.
Bye. Again, Wilfred, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, listeners, for listening. This is Aaron Deliosa for An Immigrant's Life. I'll see you guys later.